SuperFans that have reported so far this season. That's impressive. Good job.
The Jets with Luke Falk are going to battle them out. I was at the Jets-Browns game for some odd reason on Monday. The Jets had -1 passing yards, I think, in the third quarter.
Did you lose a bet to go to that game, Kevin, or were you just bored?
No. My dad has season tickets, so I figured I'd accompany him.
Oh, send him my condolences.
Trust me, he doesn't need them. He knows already.
The Cowboys defeated the Dolphins in Super Bowl VI in New Orleans, 24-3, to capture their first Super Bowl.
Kevin wasn't born yet.
Well, I'm giving him a history lesson. There you go. It was 24-3. Dallas is one of two teams in Super Bowl history to prevent its opponent from scoring a touchdown. I'll give you one guess who the other team is. Dolphins are on track for being the most outscored team in NFL history. Currently, I think at -93. The line in this game is 21.5 for the Cowboys. There you are. I'm going with Paul. They're my lock of the week. And quite honestly, I think the Cowboys will have no problem covering 21.5. But Kevin, you said not so fast, my friend.
No, I'm not even joking here. I think the Dolphins could legitimately score double digits here.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, I do obviously expect the Cowboys to have an easy win, but if they're up 30-14 in the fourth quarter, I don't expect them to keep the pedal on the metal. Probably just try to run out the clock, and I think that's a very, very feasible thing that could happen. So I would not advise betting on the Cowboys this week against the spread.
How many yards does Ezekiel Elliott get in this game?
150 plus.
All right.
Kevin, before I go into injuries, you could play quarterback for the Cowboys this week. They will still cover the spread.
I mean, I have no concerns about our offense, but me and Neil were talking about the Cowboys' defense is not shown up really at all this year. Absolutely no pass rush. The linebackers.
Aren't you guys only giving up 17 points a game?
A little more than that, but yeah, we probably would be good. Both the Giants and the Redskins scored in garbage time against us, but I've been told those points still count towards the stats. So yeah, but the defense just isn't that good right now, James. We let up almost 500 yards of offense to the Giants in week 1.
Oh, okay, sure. Speaking of your defense, Tyrone Crawford shows up on the injury report this week along with Xavier Woods. Woods, who's going to be out for Sunday. Crawford is questionable, along with Tavon Austin, who's questionable, and Michael Gallup, who is out, who I believe had surgery earlier this week. And you guys just cut Taco Charlton.
Yeah, I know. I knew that he would never replace Taco Bell as my favorite taco. But yeah, I don't really care about Taco anymore. He can go wherever he wants.
Okay, for the Dolphins,
for the first 2 games.
For the Dolphins, wide receiver Albert Wilson is questionable. He hasn't practiced much this week. Safeties Rashard Jones and Bobby McCain, along with cornerback Ken Webster, also show up in the injury report as questionable.
Who do they have left at safety? If they trade away Minkah Fitzpatrick, and now those guys are hurt.
I don't know.
Yeah. If you're a safety in the Miami area, feel free to go to the Orange Bowl and knock on the door. They could use you.
I don't think that's the stadium name anymore, but
no, it's not. It's the Hard Rock, but hey, who cares? It's Miami. Who cares this year?
It's the Orange Bowl as far as I'm concerned.
Speaking of orange, the Denver Broncos, that's their color of choice. They are at the Green Bay Packers this week. Packers 6 in the power rankings. Broncos 26. The Packers favored by 7.5. Through 2 games, the Broncos have no sacks, no interceptions, no takeaways. That's with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. No sacks through 2 games. Everybody's taking the Green Bay Packers in this one, who do have a much improved defense, Neil.
Certainly seems so in the first couple of weeks. That was I actually thought they were going to lose that game against Minnesota last weekend, but then I realized that Kirk Cousins was a quarterback, so that's quickly dispelled any problems there for the Packers. But yeah, you can't see Denver doing much. Have they been one of the most disappointing teams so far? Or did we all expect that with
No,
Flacco?
I think we all expected it.
We expected this with Flacco. Well, we expected the team to be as bad as they look. I don't think we've expected certain members of the defense to not have any statistical information to record outside of tackles.
Yeah, especially with Vic Fangio. This is going to be a one-year wonder for him.
Unfortunately, he's playing the aforementioned Chubb and Miller in coverage more than rushing the opponent's passers.
Well, that's just foolish. What do we have for injuries here, James?
Broncos, Bryce Callahan, cornerback, limited in practice. He's shown as questionable for this week. For the Packers, we have Darius Shepard, Darnell Savage, and Jimmy Graham showing up on the injury report along with Blake Martinez, all listed as questionable with various shin, hamstring, and Blake Martinez, shoulder injury. Jimmy Graham with the groin.
All right, then. The Detroit Lions are at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles fall to 8 in our power rankings. The Lions move up to 20. Eagles favored by 6.5 in this game. You know this better than I do, James, but Carson Wentz likes playing at home. In his past 12 starts, he has, at home specifically, he has 3,300 passing yards. That's 275 per game. 30 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, a 111.1 rating. We're all taking the Eagles except for the Eagles superfan who thinks they're going to lose.
Did any of you watch the game Sunday night? Anybody?
Yeah, they lost.
Yeah, you guys should have won.
Oh, okay, so in the first quarter, we lose. Well, let me rephrase that. Before the game starts, we lose Dallas Goedert to a hamstring or calf injury in warmups. Then after 3 snaps, Deshaun Jackson goes out with a groin that's now become an abdominal strain. And before the end of the first quarter, Alshon Jeffrey leaves the game with a calf injury. Not to mention Aguilar leaves the game in the middle of the second quarter for concussion protocol. Carson Wentz gets pulled at some point. The offense is in shambles. And unfortunately, I don't know what the player personnel decisions were before the season started, but for all the depth that prognosticators keep saying we do have, doesn't exist on offense. It's all on defense. Why we went into the season with only 2 tight ends instead of 3, I have no idea. Why we carry 5 receivers instead of 6, I don't know. Let's just say Aguilar never came back into the game. Receiving options would have been Ertz, Arcega-Whiteside, and Mac Hollins, and that's it. And we run a lot of spread sets.
Do you expect him to have a bigger role this week at least? Because I want to put him in my DraftKings lineup. He's really cheap.
I would say, considering Mac Hollins has been with the team longer than Arcega-Whiteside, yes, he probably will have a bigger role. They've also elevated Greg Ward from the practice squad because Deshaun Jackson is officially out for this week and the next week because we have a short turnaround to Green Bay. Also, don't expect Alshon Jeffrey to play, if at all.
I'm definitely starting Mac. Definitely.
Other Eagles showing up on the injury report who I'm very concerned about: Fletcher Cox, limited in practice. Derek Barnett, also limited. I mentioned Goddard and Jeffrey. Corey Clement will be out, so I don't know who will be returning kickoffs. And I mentioned Deshaun Jackson. Tim Jernigan will also be out. So, we're about to be looking like Neil Squad with all these injuries. I don't know what the team is going to look like on Sunday. That's why I picked the Lions with so much offensive talent that's out. And let me remind people of this. With Deshaun Jackson's growing/abdominal injury that's going to keep him out a minimum of 2 weeks, typically once he starts practicing again, that will then turn into a hamstring injury, which means week to week for the rest of the season. For the Lions, no big names on the injury report outside of linebacker Jared Davis, who has an ankle sprain. He was limited in practice. Final thing, the Eagles technically have not practiced this week. They've been doing walkthroughs to prevent any more injuries.
It's an interesting philosophy there. I wonder how that will work out for them. All right. Well, that
You're
is a
welcome.
game that I will tell you, that is a game that is featured in our SuperFan battles, which you'll be able to hear on tomorrow's podcast, along with this one, which is most likely the game of the week. The Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs moved up to number 1 in our power rankings because I allowed Greg's ridiculous ranking of 15 for the Patriots to remain in our power rankings this week. Although I did it more so because even if I didn't, a number of superfans actually have the Patriots at 2nd in the power rankings. So I don't think it affected the Patriots as much as it probably did affect one of these other teams and one of these other outcomes. But in any case, Chiefs are number 1. Ravens are 5th in the power rankings. They've jumped up there. The Chiefs are favored by 6.5. Just so everyone remembers, the game last year in December in Arrowhead was only a 3-point victory for the Chiefs. So the Ravens might actually be for real here, gentlemen. We all are picking the Chiefs, but the Ravens are definitely looking a lot better than I think a lot of people thought they might.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But they've also played.
And like I said, last year's game was only 3 points. And considering the way the Chiefs played for 3 of the 4 quarters last week against the Raiders, I'm not really encouraged considering the Ravens have a better defense.
Yeah, but I mean, Kyler Murray was pretty good actually against the Ravens. They gave him some big pass plays against him. So I would expect Mahomes to put up 30 points again, honestly. When does he not? Except for last week, I guess.
I'm glad you brought that up because Patrick Mahomes, who turned 24 this week, happy birthday, Mr. Mahomes, is playing his 20th NFL game on Sunday. No player has ever had more passing yards, 6,202, or passing touchdowns, 57, or a higher passer rating, 114.5, in a minimum of 100 attempts over his first 20 games. And he's established all those marks in just 19 contests because his 20th game is this weekend. With 300 yards this week, he can break Pro Football Hall of Famer Kurt Warner's mark of most 300-yard passing games over a player's first 20 games. They are currently tied at 12. I think Mahomes will do it. And I have a song I have to sing about Patrick Mahomes that will be coming.
Oh, God, no.
It'll be coming soon on our YouTube/Instagram.
Oh, yes, I bet you lost.
Yes, it will be coming soon. And I say this because I know Monty lost a wager last week, and he's got to do some crazy video of him drinking some ridiculous concoction. So, yeah. Quick
injury hits for the Chiefs. Running backs McCoy and Williams show up on the injury report. Both are listed as questionable. Eric Fisher will be out because he had core muscle surgery. For the Ravens, big name on the injury report for them is tight end Mark Andrews with a foot. He has not practiced so far this week.
The other interesting thing from injuries is apparently Tyreek Hill was seen in the locker room without a sling, looking rather healthy. He might be back sooner than expected, which is a shame. It will also be a shame if Jalen Ramsey is traded to the Kansas City Chiefs so that he can't body slam him one more time. Or maybe he could during practice. That would be nice.
I mean, come on, Jay. Hill will be fine. Fractures heal. Just ask his son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would say here in this game, you've got the number 1 offense. And who can stop them? I mean, they're looking terrific, and we'll see if Kansas City can stop it.
Yeah, I see what you did there. That was well done, Neil. Well done.
Andy Reid was really the only person who hamstringed Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia. So
the Oakland Raiders are at the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings fall to 13th. The Raiders remain at 23. The point spread in this one is 8.5, which seems a little high considering the Vikings so far this season. However, it's almost a mirror for the Raiders and the Vikings in regards to their points for and points against. Raiders have 17 points for while allowing 22 points against. The Vikings have scored 22 points per game and have allowed 16.5 points per game. We're all going with the Vikings. Oh, no, Neil believes that John Gruden will remain undefeated against the Vikings.